What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we are here with the review for Sistas on BET Season 4, you guys, Episode 7. The episode's titled Moving On Up, you guys. So, before we just get into this episode of Sistas, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel and are not subscribed to the channel, I'm gonna need you guys to do me a big, huge favor and stop taking me on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys do me that favor by liking the video, turning your notifications on, subscribing to the channel, and also sharing the video. And with that out of the way, you guys, without further ado, let's discuss Sistas on BET, shall we? All right, you guys. So before we get into this, I want to talk to you guys real quick. If you guys were looking for the Oval, you guys won't see it this week because this week's episode of the Oval, it just didn't. It was good, right? But you guys know how I feel about a certain storyline, and when I saw that storyline, when we opened up with that storyline, I was done at that point. And then when Victoria said what she said about the Spanish-speaking housekeeper, I was like, yeah, this episode ain't for me, right? So I was like, we'll just wait for Sistas. Sistas should give me a little bit more than the Oval gave me this week, right? Nothing, I mean, this is Black History Month. That's why I had an issue with, you know what, neither here nor there. Also, if anybody is interested in my Real Housewives of Orange County review, that review won't be up today. I don't even know if it'll be up tomorrow. It may and it may not. What it is my DVR recorded OC, but it's only audio. I can't see anything. So that's where I'm at with Real Housewives of Orange County. So yeah. So now we just have Sistas today, and then tomorrow we'll have Friday. You guys will have Married at First Sight. You guys will have Miami Housewives if the episode gives me anything to talk about. If it gives me nothing, you guys won't get it. And Growing Up Hip Hop. So that's where we are. And let's talk about Sistas. All right, guys. So we see Andi. Now see the episode for me. I don't know if it was something up with my DVR because I didn't get a previously on Sistas, right? They didn't show me anything that had previously happened on Sistas. The episode just literally started up on my DVR where Andi is running around her apartment frantic, right? So she calls the doorman, and the doorman tells her that, the landlord, the super, whoever, moved her stuff to the penthouse, right? She was like, without my permission? Technically, they didn't do it without, which is really interesting to me. We all know who did this, right? We all know that it's Gary who moved Andi's stuff to the penthouse, but Andi and Gary aren't married, so how does Gary then have a say-so in moving Andi's things? Now, granted, yes, he can buy the things for her and put it in her name. That's fine, but this apartment, it's in Andi's name, so his name is not on the lease. So if your name is not on the lease, then you have no say-so in moving anything out of the apartment. So I'm just kind of confused by that one, right? So then Randy, the superintendent, comes in. He tells Andi that, yeah, we moved all your stuff to the penthouse. It's $3 million and you got some money in escrow. So on top of Gary buying you that Rolls Royce, he's now bought you a penthouse. And Andi, to me, is just dim-witted. Andi is book smart, but she's not, she doesn't have street smarts, right? Like, this is manipulation at its finest. It's controlling. It's stalkerish. It's a slew of other things, but Andi's just, are you not catching the context clues, Andi? That's my thing with Andi. Are you not picking up what Gary is showing you? So then, here's the thing. So Gary was there, right? And I don't know when Gary showed up, but the doorman called, said, Mr. Borders is here. She said, let him up, right? So he comes up there talking. He's talking about, I'm going to do better. Gary, you keep saying you're going to do better, right? The way to say that, the way to prove that is to actually do better, right? What you're doing is not really, I don't know. For me, I would run screaming because I'm like, okay, this is a little creepy. Yes, I'm gonna take this shit, right? But that doesn't mean that we're back together, right? And this is borderline. This is not borderline. This is controlling as hell. This is possessive. This is obsessive. This is stalkerish. This is a whole lot for me, Gary. And I can't deal with it. And I can't deal with you. But Andi, unfortunately, she's gonna play into it, right? And then she went one step further, talking, bringing Robin into the situation. I was like, girl, now how did Robin get involved in this, right? But she's throwing Robin in Gary's face, right? So then the girls come in and they like, where in the hell is all your shit at? Go, Gary, get the hell out, right? So then, at one point, Danny and Sabrina, because they had a conversation and she told them what's going on. And then Danny and Sabrina want to go check out the penthouse. Andi and Karen, not so much, right? So then, once Andi has told Danny and Sabrina, filled them in, Danny was like, you know what? Maybe we should look at Gary a little differently. I was like, what? Why should we look at Gary differently? Let's just think about all the shit that has happened with Andi in this time span that she's been with Gary, right? Let's just run it down. Then Gary gave her some money, and when when he found out that what happened? The money. Remember the money that she put in the bank? Remember he got mad at her and he wanted that money back, okay? Remember his ex-wife, Jasmine. Jasmine came to her apartment, shot him, but there were rubber bullets in the gun. Oh, also remember the fact that Jasmine and her homegirls went to Andi's job and beat Andi up, but Fatima was there to help her. Okay. Oh, let's think about the best one of all. Remember the time that Gary was hugging Andi so damn hard he bruised her ribs? Yeah. Oh, no. I got the best one for you guys. Remember the time that Andi and Gary were driving, right? He took her to that, was it a house in the middle of fucking nowhere? Remember when he got arrested and the cops, had her and she had to ride back home with the cops? So yeah, we should look at him differently. Of all the things that Gary has did, we need to look at him differently because he bought her a Rolls Royce, some designer clothes and shoes and bags, and a fucking $3 million penthouse. But we need to look at Gary differently. Why? Inquiring minds would love to know why we need to look at Gary differently. Like, I really want to know, why should we look at Gary any differently? Because I'm not. But hey, if you guys want to, go for it. We're going to move on, you guys. All right, you guys. So we see Andi and Karen. So Andi and Karen are still in Andi's empty ass apartment, right? And, she tells her, actually at one point they were just talking about Andi. And they're talking about Andi this whole entire time. And I'm going to agree with what Karen said, right? Girl, if he's willing to buy you a Rolls Royce, get you a penthouse, take it, right? You can sell it. You can do whatever you want with it because it's in your name. I'm in agreement with that, right? If the nigga wants to shell the money out for you, girl, take the gifts. Take them. If you want to sell them, pawn stuff, do what you want to do, right? That's his money that he spent on you. It's in your name. So these are gifts, right? So you're not obligated to give them back to him. So I'm with Karen. I agree with Karen, right? So then Danny and Sabrina, they go up to the penthouse, right? That penthouse was really nice, right? The only thing that really threw me off was that big ass picture of Andi. I was like, wow, if this isn't narcissism, I don't know what is. Like, who? I never understand people when you get, I never understand rich people or just people in general who have big, huge paintings of themselves in their homes. Do you not, you look at yourself every day in the mirror when you get ready for work or just wherever you're going, you look at yourself every day in the mirror. Why do you need a big mural of yourself? I just never understood it, right? So, as Danny and Sabrina are on their way up to the penthouse, Danny's phone is ringing and Sabrina's like, who is that? She says it's Logan. I stood him up and she ignored him, right? So then we move back down where Karen and Andi are, right? And Andi at one point realizes, hey, we're talking a lot about me. you're the one that you brought us all here together because you wanted something, you had something that you wanted to tell us, right? And Karen's like, well, I wanted to tell all of you, and I'm just gonna wait for Karen, not Karen, but Sabrina and Danny to come back down. Did you call Fatima? No, I didn't think you were serious, but I was serious, Andy. I want Fatima here. This has something to do with her. Okay, I'm gonna go in the other room and call her. Why? She says, because I don't know what she's gonna say, and I don't want to be in the middle of this. And then Andy went to the room. She says, you're already in the middle of it. She's in the middle of it because you squarely placed her in the middle of it. Like, let's be real, Karen. You have placed Andy in the middle of it. And Andy has semi-placed herself in the middle of it, but it's more specifically Karen. It's more so on Karen that has placed her in the middle of this situation. But hey, so Andy says that she's gonna go in another room and call Fatima. So we're gonna talk about that. So we see Zach and Fatima. So Zach and Fatima, they're at his house, right? And they're talking, and he's telling her, hey, don't pay your rent for the next month. I was like, wait a minute, what? Don't pay the rent for the next month? He said yes. I'm like, why? Why would she not pay rent in her own place next month? So he's telling her that, oh boy, what's his name? Jake. So he tells her that Jake told him that I guess he can get him in with some people and it'll just be, it ain't gonna take that long, right? I don't trust Jake and I don't trust Gary. I really don't trust Jake because Jake works with Gary, which that's when Gary comes up again. He's like, how do you know Gary? And he was like, Gary. She's like, Gary is Andy's ex. He was like, that Gary, scary Gary. I was like, how do you know about? Oh, never mind, Karen. I had to say how in that because I was like, how? Never mind. No, we'll talk about that. We'll definitely talk about that in a minute, right? We will talk about that in a minute because I have a lot of questions. So Andy calls up Fatima, right? And Andy invites Fatima over, and she says that Karen wants to see you. Karen wants you to come over, right? And Fatima was like, girl, fuck no. And then she says, what the hell does she want? I don't know. She just said it has something to do with you, right? And Fatima says, you know what? I think I know, but I need to talk to Zach. She was like, what is it? She's like, no, let me talk to Zach and you guys deal with Karen. So Fatima told Andy, I think I know what it is. Let me talk to Zach and then I'll call you back and let you know if I'm coming, right? So that happens, right? So she hangs up with Andy and Fatima tells Zach that, hey, actually she was saying it loud enough so that Zach could hear her. So he was like, what is that? She says, Karen wants to meet me. He was like, I ain't done nothing, whatever they saying, they lying. She says, no, it's not that, Zach. I think she wants to tell the girls that she's pregnant. He's like, man, she already told them girls. She's like, not the way that Andy was talking. I don't think she's told them, right? So she says, she asked him, is it okay if she goes? I'm like, oh, is it okay? Okay. So he says, do you want to go? She says, I can't. He says, that's not what the question that I asked. He says, do you want to go? And she said, I guess she said yes. I don't remember. But then he tells her that Karen came over to the house and she was like, he's like, whoa, what's that? You know what? Let me back up. She says, no, why was she here? He says, the reason that she was here is because she came over to tell me that there was some woman. Well, he didn't say a woman. He said that there was some person that came to the salon looking for me and they looked pretty official, right? So now that has piqued Fatima's interest. So Fatima now wants to go so that way she can find out what Karen has to say and see if she can get more information about this person that is looking for Zach. All right, you guys, so we're gonna pause here and move forward. Actually, you guys, we're gonna wrap up the episode. So the girls, after, Danny and Sabrina have looked at the penthouse and they took the bottle of cognac that was up there with them, they went back down to the apartment where Andy and Karen are, right? And they told Andy how they saw the apartment. The apartment was nice. And she was like, wait a minute. So y'all were actually able to get into the apartment? They were like, yeah, you said go to the elevator and press P. So that's what we did. We went to the elevator, pressed P, and it went on up. I have a huge question about that. Because even they said, if you listen to them, they had hesitation. Like, how in the hell did that work, right? How did that work? Because if you think about it, like most apartments or penthouses, especially with a penthouse, you either have to have a key fob that you put up against the elevator and it lets you up. But this elevator just let them up to the person's. So if this was just a random person's penthouse and they accidentally press P, you mean to tell me it's just gonna let them out in this person's apartment? Come on, Tyler. Let's be realistic. But and it was like maybe they were probably expecting me. They were probably expecting you, not your two girlfriends. Make it make sense. But hey, it is what it is, right? So, mind you, before they came back down, Karen and Andy were talking, and basically, Karen is trying to figure out if Andy is going to go back to Gary. Karen, let me sum it up for you. She is. She's playing this game now, but she's gonna go back. She's gonna go back and be the bird that she is, right? So Andy was trying to get out of Karen, what she wants to talk about. She says, we'll just wait until they come back, right? So they come back down, and that's when Danny and Sabrina are telling about how the penthouse looks. We got this bottle of cognac. Here, have a drink. You have a drink. They only have 2 glasses, and Danny says, "Here, Karen, you have some." She's like, "I'm not drinking." They were like, what? She's like, "Yeah, I'm not drinking." And they were like, "Oh, is it the preacher? You're not gonna be wearing those short skirts anymore. You're not gonna be wearing pants. You're gonna be wearing dresses." And I was actually with Andy like, "Y'all, please stop with that. Like, stop with that shit." Because it's getting old. Y'all want to make the jokes about the preacher. So then Andy tells them about the Rolls Royce situation, right? And remember that Andy and Sabrina, not Andy, Andy and Karen were followed by the cops, right? Well, fake cops, right? And Sabrina said, "That sounds pretty legal." That's neither here nor there. That is. So then she said, they stopped us and they sang this song. How did it go, Karen? I don't know. Yes, you do. I don't know. Then she sang, I'm sorry. And I want, is that how it goes? I'm sorry. And I don't care how the song goes, stupid. But Andy loved it. And she's singing. I'm like, girl, you're still singing that damn song? Why? Like I keep telling you guys, Andy is going to make her way back over to Gary. Mark my words. Mark my words, she's going to make her way back to Gary. Now, let's move over to the basketball court, right? Now, when Fatima left, Zach told Fatima, like, "Hey, I'm just going to go over to the play basketball with the boys. I don't know what's going on, but I'm just going to go there, right?" So we are on the basketball court and we see the guys that are playing basketball, right? So it's Gary, it's Jake was there, Aaron and Gary, right? So I'm so confused as to why Aaron was just glaring at Zach, and Gary noticed it, right? He's like, "What's going on here?" And they both say, well, I'm dating, Aaron says, "I'm dating his ex." Karen is his ex? He said, "Yes." So, Andy. Okay. He's like, "Yeah." He was like, "Yeah, my girl just told me about it." He's like, "Fatima." He's like, "My girl Fatima just told me about it." "Fatima's your girl." Oh, shit. And here's the question that I had earlier in the review. Karen and Zach were together for 3 years, right? Oh, never mind. I just answered my own question. I think I just answered my own question because I was about to say, because even Gary said it. Come we never met each other, right? I know why you guys never met each other, because unfortunately Gary was married to Jasmine and he really couldn't go out on a date with Andy. So that's why Zach and Gary have never met, because Andy was the side chick, right? I just answered, so I figured it out why. So I'm not gonna harp on Tyler with that one. I'm not gonna give him any grief with that one, because that one makes sense why they never met, because Andy was a side chick and she only saw Gary at night when he was going to the gym. So that one, I got it. So then, Gary is telling Zach, like, whatever Fatima told you, don't believe that shit. He said she didn't say anything bad about you. She's talked about your business and how you're good at it. He's like, oh, well, you can believe that. So you can believe, he can believe her when it comes to his business being good, but anything else, don't believe that because she's lying. So then Zach asks him, like, well, what's the issue? And he tells him that he was married when him and Andi got together. He's like, oh. He said, yeah, those girls can be a little bitchy, but yeah, that right there, I understand it, right? So then after that, Gary is going to use anything to his advantage if he thinks that it can help him, right? So Gary knows that people are looking into Zach with this whole stock trading thing, right? And he wants Zach's help to help him win back Andi. I was like, oh, so it's bribery and blackmail, basically, right? Like, I know that people are looking at you for insider trading. If you scratch my back, I scratch your back. I'm glad that Zach told him basically F you, right? I was happy that Zach did that. And Zach left, right? So then we moved back over to the penthouse with the ladies, right? And at this point, I'm like, yeah, Andi is a goner because Andi is walking around. Oh my God. Oh my God. He remembered this. This is from my favorite movie. Oh my God. I'm like, oh my God, she's a goner. She's going back to him. I keep telling you guys that she's going back to Gary, without a doubt. So then they sit down and, once again, they're trying to offer Karen something to drink. Karen has said more than once that she doesn't want anything to drink. And then they said, why? And she finally tells them, I'm pregnant, which I still don't believe. I just don't buy that Karen is pregnant. Karen ain't even been to the fucking doctor yet. But hey, that's the episode, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Please leave your comments in the comments section below. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notification buttons. Share the video. And until the next time, stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Wear a mask. Socially distance. Be blessed. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace, guys.